Aloha, I'm Reverend Tim Lytle, Senior Minister here at Unity Church of Hawaii in Honolulu. And we are so grateful for all of you who watch us on our YouTube channel. We know with you that as you view these teachings and apply them to your lives, that it helps to build your life into the very best one that can be imagined. If you're ever in the area, please come and join us for a service, and please enjoy the message that you're about to watch. Aloha. We are celebrating Zeal for Life. The power of this month is zeal. Zeal is the power that you see with a rocket when it is on the launch pad, and all of a sudden you see all the flames come out, and it takes a tremendous amount of energy to get liftoff. That is the power of zeal. 81 years ago, Reverend Marie Handley came here from Unity Village, Missouri, not far from Wichita, Kansas, and came here with zeal to help establish and bring forth this spiritual community. And so we celebrate the power of zeal to create our dreams. We celebrate the power of zeal to recognize the presence of God working in, through, and as us, and recognizing that presence of God in each person, in each living creature, in all of creation, in all of our life circumstances, recognizing that presence of God. Some of you may wonder, what is different about Unity compared to other churches? There's several differences, and this would be one of them. That we believe there is truly only one power and one presence, and that all of life is expressing and showing up as that presence. That truly there is never a time where we are really separate from God. We may at times feel a sense of separation, a sense of longing, but truly God is always there. Wherever you are, God is. Paul, in the book of Colossians, written to the people in Colossae, chapter 1, verse 17 says, God, the Christ, is before all things, and in him all things hold together. Gratitude is a very important part of zeal. If you find that your zeal is lagging, I would guess that your gratitude might be as well. Gratitude is when we're recognizing how God is miraculously working in all things, holding them together. So when you got up this morning, hopefully your arm was still attached, your leg was still attached, your head was still attached. I don't know. Maybe you left your head at home. But you're held together by this presence, by this love, by this light, by this ever-present divine. And so we know and celebrate this presence. We're not here to be, just miserable and sad. We're here to celebrate the beauty of life that is in every moment, because truly every moment is a miracle. Yesterday, I had so many miracles. Let me tell you about one of them. Every day, we have someone outside of our apartment complex who greets us. Every day. We go out there, and it doesn't matter what kind of day we've had, what kind of day they've had. Every day they are there to greet us. And they always come up to me, so happy to see me, and I scratch them behind the ear. I scratch their back parts. It's a dog, okay? Named Brett. And Britt is always there to give unconditional love to everybody who comes in or out of that apartment complex. And when I look in Britt's eyes, I see the presence of God looking back at me. We recognize in unity that presence is everywhere. In all animals and all living things. I love to go to places like Foster Botanical Gardens or Lion Arboretum. You know, I can just see God in all this, the birds and all these plants. And we can see God in each other, even in ourselves. When we learn to recognize and see God in ourselves, then we can see God in each other. When we see God in one another, it transforms our lives. That song, What If God Was One of Us? Just a stranger riding on the bus, trying to find his way home. Each person we run into is that presence of God in action. And so today we're going to have an animal blessing. I love blessing animals. I've blessed turtles. I have blessed hamster. I've blessed... someone talked about bringing a lizard. So I'll bless the lizard. Whatever it is, you know, I've blessed horses. Anyone ride your horse today? I'll bless your horse or your cow. And so we're going to bless these animals because they are the outpicturing of the presence of God. Every single one of them. And so we're celebrating the beauty of life. Now, sometimes life has difficult circumstances, but truly every day we are invited to the party. Every day we are invited to the party of celebrating life. Every day we are invited to celebrating the presence of God living in, through, and as each one of us. As it says in the Bhagavad Gita 6:29, a true yogi. And a yogi is someone who has taken this bhakti yoga, this teaching, this discipline upon themselves. A true yogi observes me in all beings and also sees every being in me. So if you're not able to see that, don't give up because that presence is there. Indeed, the self-realized person sees me, the same Supreme Lord, everywhere. Long, long time ago, back in the 1100s, there was a baby born. His father was in France at the time that he was born. He was born in Italy. His father loved all things French, and his father was a very successful businessman, an entrepreneur who had all kinds of cloths, and he would sell silk, clothing, and different things to people. And this baby was born to the French wife, an Italian man. And the man was angry and irate when he heard that his baby had been named Giovanni. Giovanni is the Italian version of John, who is named after the Apostle John. His father didn't want him named after John. He didn't want his son to grow up to be some sort of spiritual dude, some sort of priest. He wanted his son to be a successful businessman like him. And because he loved all things French, he named him Frenchman, which in Italian is Francesco. So even though his name was Giovanni de Pietro Bernardone, he was always called Francesco. Francesco, the English version, is Francis. Saint Francis. If you didn't guess. You know. So say 3 knots here that represent obedience, chastity, and poverty. St. Francis grew up in this very opulent home. And he was this rich young man, and he loved to go out and party. He had lots of friends. He was very gregarious and witty, good looking, had a great time. He'd go out on the town, they'd raise, they'd have a great time. And like young people sometimes do that think that they can never be hurt, he wanted to join the military. And he wanted to get out there and fight a war. And so he and friends and a whole lot of companions went and fought in the war. And a whole bunch of them were killed. And he was put in prison for a year. He came home. Wasn't enough. He wanted to join one of those crusades, Join an army to go to the crusades to claim back the Holy Land. And he went just a day's journey away and had like a vision telling him to go back. He had a sickness and different things began to happen, visions and dreams. And his spiritual life began to awaken. He would sell his father's products, and he saw a very poor beggar. And so he gave all of the proceeds to this beggar. And his friends made fun of him. His father was very, very angry. He was meditating in a chapel in Subiaco, which is where these rosary beads come from. And in that broken down chapel in Subiaco, there was a crucifix, a cross, with Jesus on the cross. And Jesus came to life as Francesco was meditating. And Jesus said to him, "Rebuild my church, it is in ruins." And Francesco thought he was talking about the chapel. So he started gathering stones and begging for stones to build that chapel. And he rebuilt several chapels. And later it dawned on him, the Catholic Church at that time, had so much corruption, promiscuity, greed. And so he was there to help rebuild the faith, to rebuild the church. The father was so angry at him, he had him arrested and taken to the city square in front of the bishop because he wanted his son to renounce his inheritance. He didn't want anything to do with him anymore. And Francesco said, "From now on, I only have one Father, and that is my heavenly Father. And you're upset about your clothes and your money. Here, let me take off all my clothes, and I'm going to give them to you." And that's exactly what he did in front of all the people and the bishop. St. Francis had this love of all things, all creatures. He could talk with birds. He could talk with a wolf. In Gubbio, he talked with a wolf that was terrorizing people and killing people. He got the wolf to straighten out. He was an animal whisperer. He loved animals. He loved all things. And he saw everything as his brother and sister. Maybe you've seen the movie Brother, Sun, Sister, Moon. Yeah? So he saw the sun as his brother, the moon as his sister. Everything was part of him because he saw the connection of all of it. He saw the connection between all of us. When he looked at a person, he saw the presence of God. When he saw an animal, he saw the presence of God. When he looked at us, just one of us, he saw the presence of God. He said, if you have men who exclude any of God's creatures from the shelter of compassion and pity, you will have men who will deal likewise with their fellow men. He saw it as being very important how we treated all of life, and that we should celebrate life. The thing about St. Francis is he was one of the most joyful people you could ever meet. He had lots of zeal because he saw the presence of God in everything. Wherever he was, God was. Wherever he went, God was. He saw that presence, that life of God in every creature, in everything. And if we see that presence of God in everything, then it's a party. We celebrate every day because we see that presence in one another and in all of life. Many different faith traditions teach this. The Fillmores, the co-founders of the Unity movement, believe strongly of that presence of God being present in all living things. There's many statements throughout Charles Fillmore and his writings talking about our connection with life and reverence for life. Here is one of them. This is from the original handwritten Unity Statement of Faith. You have probably heard me talk before about how Charles Fillmore had been pressured into writing a statement of belief. Here is the first original statement of belief. We believe that all life is sacred, and that man should not kill or be party to the killing of animals for food. Also that cruelty, war, and wanton destruction of human life will continue so long as men destroy animals. That was an important concept to the Fillmores. So for a number of years, it was only vegetarian meals that were served at Unity Village. Because there was this zest and zeal for living. Maybe you've seen this quote from Charles Fillmore in his 94th year. Is anyone here 94 or older? Anybody? I saw someone raise their hand, but they were just getting their sunglasses. Okay. I thought, really? You look so good. In his 94th year, Charles Fillmore said, I fairly sizzle with zeal and enthusiasm to do the things that ought to be done by me. As I spring forth things. Thank you. I have one of our licensed Unity teachers giving me the exact quote. Zeal is that presence and power of God that we recognize in ourselves and in each other. That's what leads us to celebrate. Because every moment is a miracle if we see it. When I look at you, I see the presence of God looking back at me. When I look at the plants out here, or any of our animal friends that have come to be with us today, I see the presence of God. If you want to know how to learn to do this, find in your everyday life what it is you're grateful for. Give thanks for that. Express gratitude to the people in your life. Sometimes it throws them off because they wonder if you're getting ready to die or something. Because sometimes we don't express how we really feel about somebody. We keep it to ourselves. We think, oh, there's plenty of time to tell them how we really feel. And then they're gone. Zeal is the power of recognizing the presence of God in each person. Recognizing that presence in ourselves. Recognizing that presence living in, through, and as us. That presence is seeking to express as us in wonderful, beautiful ways. We are here to bring a celebration to the world. We are here to invite everyone to the party, regardless of sexual identity, regardless of race, regardless of faith tradition, regardless of your background. Everyone is invited to the party. Everyone is invited to experience this presence of God. That is something to celebrate. That is something to rejoice in. That is something to live from this presence of God in us. Let's celebrate together.